So with the fight or flight response, we talked about how the blood automatically goes to the heart to get the muscles ready for fighting or fleeing. We send a signal to our sweat system to cool us down, just like dogs' pants. So we get sweaty hands and sweaty armpits. The next part that happens in the fight or flight response is we get butterflies in our tummy. And those come from there's no blood going to the stomach, so it's all going to the muscles to fight or flee. So we shut down our whole digestive system. So anything that's in our stomach is kind of churning, and that's where the butterfly feeling comes from. And so we get that feeling just before we go on stage that we think we're going to throw up, or our stomach starts making noises when we're in a job interview, and we get that gurgling sound when we're on a first date, and our stomach, there's quiet silence there, and our stomach starts making churning sounds. And the digestive system is all one long tube connected to the mouth. So we get a dry mouth when we're going through a stress response. So many people on stage will have water, and I have water right here. Knowing that I will get a dry throat when I'm talking and presenting. When I interviewed teachers to become teachers at the school I was working at, you'd ask a question, and there'd always be some question that some teacher would get nervous over, and you'd see you could see their face turn red, and you could see that they were uncomfortable, and then they had trouble talking because the mouth got dry. And I would just push their water bottle over to them and say, grab a drink, and then they'd be able to have a quick drink and drop the stress response and answer the question much better. And also going back to the first date part of the dry mouth, so your heart's pounding, your hands are sweaty, your armpits are sweaty, your stomach's making funny noises, and your mouth's really dry when you go to kiss someone. So you've got to lick your lips before you kiss someone. The hand model of the brain, we'll talk about that next. This is about the size of the human brain. And when I do this in a large audience, I ask people to hold them up and look at their hands. And people eventually start looking at their neighbor and giggling about who has bigger hands and bigger brain. And it's not necessarily proportional, but it is about the size of the brain. And the way the brain's evolved is this base part of our brain. This is the reptilian part of the brain that all animals, mammals have this. And when we're in a stressful situation, blood goes there because that's where the fight or flight response lives. As humans, we have this inside part of our brain, the limbic system or the emotional system. And when we worry about something, we don't have to be in a threatening situation. We just have to worry about it or think about something that worries us. That triggers the fight or flight situation. So here and here are triggered. However, the outside part of our brain, the big part, the memory, decision making, concentrating, the blood doesn't go there in a fight or flight situation. So that helps explain why you practiced your speech in grade 3 or 4 in front of the mirror in front of your mom and dad, yet in front of your class, all of a sudden you couldn't remember it. And Mr. Brady on the Brady Bunch once said, when he goes to Jan, picture everyone in their underwear. And the reason that tends to work was humor turns off the fight or flight response. You can't kind of have both fear and humor running at the same time. So that kind of worked for Jan. So we're on stage, we can't remember our speech. We're in a job interview, someone asks us a question that we could answer sitting around the coffee shop with our friends. If they ask us the question, all of a sudden we draw a blank. And on a first date, silence because there's nothing to talk about. But when was the last time we actually needed this full-blown fight or flight response? There are no big tigers chasing us down. Our life isn't threatened on a regular basis. And most of the things we need in life, we have, like food, water, shelter, and people that care for us. That's like the base of the pyramid of needs that we have. So how do we break the fight or flight? Well, first of all, we have to understand that there's three parts to it. It's not just fight and flight, it's also freeze. And freeze is the deer in the headlights. Right? You come up to a deer, it freezes and decides what to do after that. Or when you're walking by a bunny rabbit will freeze first, and then it'll decide whether it's going to scoot away or just stay frozen. So we have that built into us as well, and I'll talk about how that shows itself.